shirt off, says the government's already leaped over the biggest hurdle.
I'm gonna get out for a minute.
The food that's in this bag here, that's,
Huh?
the food that's in there, who's that?
That's yours to eat.
Oh.
You didn't know you had food to eat.
I thought it was his and mine or something and yours.
No, I don't think he's home.
No, I am hungry. I just want to be sure.
Back there.
All this time, I didn't realize.
What's that, Nate? Huh?
I thought you knew you had food back there. God, man. We're riding for what, an hour or something? Whoops. She's gonna ride across the bridge.
Ronnie Jason was shot to death last night in her car. Some years ago, briefly made to prison. The circumstances of the murder remain a mystery.
Ronnie Jason could have been part of a classic Raymond Chandler novel. Glamorous blonde mingles with Hollywood elite. Beautiful at red carpet premiere for Burlesque, starring Cher and Christina Aguilera. She schmoozes with more industry cats at the after party. Then she slips into her late model Mercedes-Benz and heads for home. But she never arrives there. In this real-life case, we know why. The 64-year-old movie and music publicist was found barely alive shortly after midnight in a posh Beverly Hills neighborhood just south of Sunset Boulevard. Jason was slumped behind the wheel of her car, her chest pierced by several bullets from an unknown assailant. TV footage showed her being taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital, where she was pronounced dead.
We don't have crimes like this in the city of Beverly Hills, so it is a surprise to us. combat the foreclosure fund.
The foreclosure fund is still a work in progress and could include compensation for a wide swath of problems, from shoddy paperwork to fraud. Step 2 and Johnson attorney Bill Hassler's represented homeowners who've suffered foreclosure fraud.
The goal is admirable. It's to do rough justice without trying to account for every penny.
But with foreclosures, the pennies will have to spread far and wide. Hassler says companies have used these funds with mixed results.
Some funds have worked very well, but in terms of the mortgage situation, unfortunately, it's a very, very difficult problem. I think you're going to run into problems with some people being undercompensated and others perhaps being overcompensated.
The money for the fund would come from the banking industry, but that's probably okay with them. Analyst Nancy Bush with NAB Research says that's what's going to happen anyway.
I mean, the political realities are today, the banking industry gets blamed for something, they pay money, life goes on.
Bush says the industry wants to get out of the spotlight so legal foreclosures can get back on track. Georgetown law professor Adam Levitin says the banks have a vested interest in finding a quick resolution.
The banks want to settle and score quickly because they're scared that the attorneys general will dig deeper.
And he says find even more irregularities. The Iowa Attorney General's office says a foreclosure fund is just one solution on the table. A settlement in this 50-state probe is still a ways off. In New York, I'm Janet Babbitt for Marketplace.
There was another bipartisan deficit reduction plan released today, the second in as many weeks. And there are various combinations of spending cuts and tax increases being bandied about out there. But in his column today in the New York Times, David Leonhardt writes that cutting the deficit isn't always about cutting the budget. Economic growth can help you get there as well. David, as always, good to talk to you again.
It's nice to be on.
So this idea of cutting the deficit with economic growth, how does it work? What are the mechanics?
Well, when the economy grows, people make more money. And when they make more money, they also pay more in taxes. And that tax money goes into the Treasury, and it makes it easier to pay off the national debt. And that's roughly what happened in the 2 decades after World War II, and then again in the late 90s. It wasn't the only reason we were able to pay off the debt so well then, but it was probably the most important.
How much growth does it take to make a difference? I mean, if we bump GDP by, 0.5%, is that going to do it?
Oh, absolutely. The good news is it doesn't take anything like 2 or 3 percentage points a year of GDP growth to make a difference. If we bump growth up by 0.5 percentage point over the next 20 years, we'd probably cut our deficit problem in half. The bad news is that bumping up growth by 0.5% a year every year is actually not so easy by any means. There isn't a secret formula for doing it. We don't know exactly how to do it. We can make some guesses, but it's not that easy.
Well, there have been a couple of proposals the past couple of weeks. Deficit commissions and the President's Commission, and then another one today. What do they point to? And what do you like there?
These are both bipartisan commissions, and there's a lot to choose. I think the first thing that's important to say is our deficit debate for most of the last year or so has been maddeningly vague. And both of these commissions have put specific proposals on the table. And I don't love every aspect of each one, but I think it's important to start by saying that. In terms of trying to push economic growth, there's some good news and some less good news. The good news is they both push tax reform. The idea that we want to clean up our tax code and not have people and businesses waste so much time trying to qualify for different tax breaks. The bad news is I don't think either one of them does enough to emphasize things like education and science that over the long haul have really been wonderful drivers of economic growth. And so I worry that things like that would get lost in the general rush to cut spending. They get cut along with a lot of things that in fact do nothing to promote growth.
Give me a couple of examples of things that do nothing to promote growth.
I would guess that farm subsidies do nothing or approximately nothing to promote growth. I would guess a lot of the military spending we now do does nothing to promote growth and probably does very little to protect us. I certainly think we can look at cuts of 10, maybe even 20%. And then there's healthcare. Healthcare is the big item. We spend by far more than any other rich country on healthcare. We don't get on the whole much better results. Depending how you look at it, maybe we get a little bit better results, but certainly we don't get the kind of results we should be getting for the amount of money we're spending.
I was talking to a guy the other day who said that as bad as it is now with the deficit and with concerns about government spending, it's going to have to get worse. Our backs are going to have to get closer to the wall before anything starts to go down.
I agree with that. And I think one of the ways you can see that is that right now no politicians are really willing to tell the truth about this. The people who are willing to say We can't have Medicare, Social Security, the military, and tax rates as they are people who don't have to run for office. They're journalists like me. They're people who serve on these committees who maybe used to have to run for office but don't anymore. And so I agree that we're probably not at the point yet where we're actually going to solve this thing.
David Leonhardt writes the economic scene column for the New York Times. David, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Scott.
Choppy, bumpy, unsettled, all equally appropriate to describe Wall Street today. We will have the details when we do the numbers.
So far this week, Google's launched a restaurant and travel review service called HotPot, teased reporters with a glimpse of a phone that could one day replace your wallet, unveiled a fashion site called Boutique.com, and released a Google Voice app for iPhones. And that's just Google, and it's just this week, and it's only Wednesday. The pace of innovation in the tech industry today is unprecedented, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here's tech analyst Mary Meeker at the Web 2.0 Summit in San Francisco yesterday.
I've never seen this in my career following technology companies over the course of the last couple of decades, whether it's Apple, Google, Amazon.
And so these companies are sitting on mountains of cash. Apple has $51 billion in the bank. Google, more than $30 billion. and many of their new online ventures are cheap to start. This is how Google CEO Eric Schmidt described his strategy at Web 2.0. He says he keeps an eye out for any idea with the potential for explosive growth.
Indeed, we've now come along to a view which we call hockey stick, where we're looking for these hockey sticks and these products that we just pour resources onto them.
And other companies are also moving at the same manic pace. Murray Meeker says there's a pretty simple reason. If you made a list of the 15 largest tech companies by market cap in 2004,
7 of the companies that were on the list of 2004 didn't make it to the list in 2010.
she says firms either innovate or die. In Silicon Valley, I'm Steve Henn for Marketplace.
That's kind of, I guess, the method of MySpace versus Facebook.
There's that glow in the dark shit thing.
There can't live right out there.
Where it could be the better than this anybody.
Coming out, what's that? You say you're looking to build a shiny new sustainable home?
Oh, I saw that glow in the dark things out there, but it's
The
actually
greenest building is the one that's already built.
But first, let's do the numbers. Wall Street found its feet today after Tuesday's run on the Dow Industrial shed 15 points, just over 10%, closed at 11,007. The Nasdaq picked up 6 points, 4%, 2476 in the bell. The S&P 500 basically flat, ended things at 1178. For the second day running, retail stocks opened surprising pretty high.
46 times since
Target
we're going.
strongly knows it forecasted its holiday sales have invested 3 years. Closed up 3.9%. Costco wholesale running up nearly 2% gain. Saks
About an hour.
Union shares up 2 2/3%. On the eve of General Motors' return to the big board, Ford kept its foot on the gas, rose 1% today. Bank of America lost 2 2/3%. Morgan Stanley shaved 2 1/10%. Bond prices fell. The yield on the 10-year T-note rose to 2.88%. And you're listening to Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Reputation Defender, helping doctors, lawyers, and small business owners monitor, protect, and improve their online reputations. ReputationDefender.com. Redbox Searchlight Pictures, presenting 127 Hours based on the story of Aaron Ralston from director Danny Boyle and starring James Franco, now in select theaters. And by Vanguard, whose mission is to simplify investing and to help people reach their financial goals at Vanguard.com/public radio.
With the time at 14 minutes past 6, it's Marketplace on 91.3 WLRN and 9.5 WKWM. Good evening. We are funded by listeners like you and by Bank of America. Every day helping set opportunity in motion in South Florida by lending and investing in the local community and economy. Details at bankofamerica.com/opportunity. Details of the evening commute now at traffic.com. Miami-Dade County, 95, waiting on 3rd Street, early mentioned there, all lanes are still slow. Also, southbound Highway Express on John from 36th Street to the Dolphin Expressway. In Broward County, northbound 95, slow approach from Brown Boulevard to approaching Oakland Boulevard due to an earlier accident there. Westbound 595, jammed past the turnpike to Pine Island Road. And southbound on the Florida Turnpike Extension, slow from the Dolphin Expressway to 40th Street. The weather tonight, partly cloudy with overnight lows in the upper 60s. No rain in the forecast for tonight right now, but tomorrow Thursday, partly sunny day, but we go up to a 30% chance of showers.
It's Marketplace from American Public Media. I'm Kyle Risbach. It's Wednesday, time to sort through the inbox here, as you heard me say. And we're going to start things off this week with a salty, tasty treat. Wendy's is rolling out some new French fries, as we told you last week, seasoned with sea salt instead of regular old table salt. Our story brought forth the health-minded among you, including Dr. John Nesma of Elmira, Pennsylvania.
Sea salt makes a difference because of the minerals present in addition to sodium, but it is not healthy. There are ways for people to use sea salt. I use it myself in cooking, but one must understand how much is acceptable.
The Marketplace foodie contingent was also talking about our piece yesterday on the rising costs of eating more of what's good for you. Sarah Delavan lives right here in Los Angeles.
I feel bad saying this, but I believe this article does a disservice to any reader who doesn't already know better. My husband and I eat a fully organic diet, including meat, on a budget of $40 a week or less.
Catherine Sloan in Smithville, Tennessee, was irked by our choice of words as we explained the Bush tax cuts. and why the discussion of whether to extend them or not turns on that $250,000 pivot. We said for the 0.1% of Americans that take in more than $2.2 million a year, those tax cuts mean an average $500,000, and this is where we get into trouble, windfall. Windfall, Ms. Sloan points out, sounds like winning the lottery rather than people getting to keep their own money. Would you, she wrote, describe a tax increase as a windfall for the government? We also looked into the government creating an online privacy czar last week. James Daly wrote from Seattle to say that marketers spying on you can have its upsides.
If I, as a single employed male living in Seattle, never have to see a feminine hygiene wash ad, or a diapers ad, or a debt consolidation ad, then it's a win for society as a whole. The advertisers save their money, and I save my time.
Time saved is never a bad thing, so we're going to wrap it up just in time for you to send us your thoughts about what you hear on the broadcast. Weigh in
What a lot of people
online
don't understand is without those ads,
click on that link that says
all the free stuff they get on the internet, wouldn't be able to be free. They'd have to pay for it. I've explained that many times to people when they don't get it. Oh, I hate these ads. And you say, well, would you pay $2 for that? Well, no. I already paid for the internet.
Felix Rowe,
companies that do this stuff have to make money too.
He's been a power broker on Wall Street for half a century. He was in the room for some of the biggest deals ever. RJR Nabisco being bought by Colbert Travis Roberts about 30 years ago. NBC being bought by General Electric. And somewhere along the way, he also found time to help save New York City from defaults. That story and others are the backbone of his new memoir, Dealings, it's called. When we spoke, I asked Felix Rowe about what it was like trying to keep New York City on the financial map.
Well, we had tried to fix the finances of the city and without going bankrupt. And in order to do that, we needed the cooperation of all kinds of people who up to now had not cooperated with us. Principally the labor unions, who knew that ultimately if the city went bankrupt, their pension funds were going bankrupt. And so they began to cooperate with us, which was a first in the industry. And we were able to finance the restructuring of the city's debt. And we got this done within 2 days of default.
Let me fast forward now from New York City and its troubles in the 1970s to Wall Street and its troubles 2.5–3 years ago. There is a scene in this book. You're sitting in your apartment, about to open the paper, you hold it, and you see the headline, Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt. What went through your mind?
I couldn't believe it. My whole career had spent in this industry. The big people didn't really go bankrupt. That was not part of the social construct. And so the notion that Lehman would go bankrupt was just totally something unthinkable. But it was what happened.
Is there a way that banking ever gets back to not the way it was 60 years ago when we went to it, but where the interests of the shareholder and the customer are more paramount than they seem to be now, where it's not all about profit and the bottom line? Can that ever happen?
Well, I think it's difficult. We actually had a discussion at the RJR Nabisco board meeting with respect to these issues of social contracts, of taking into account issues that are more than just financial issues.
And this is that very famous deal, RJR Nabisco and Colbert Travis Roberts. I mean, that's the biggest leverage buyout in history at the time. And you were talking about this. You were talking about this 30 years ago.
Absolutely, but nobody really wanted to talk about it, because it inhibited people, and the standards were difficult. It wasn't something that you could just snap your fingers and say, okay, from now on, this is what we're going to be looking at. But it troubled enough people, especially there was one man who was the chairman of one of the computer companies who was absolutely convinced that you couldn't have any equity and any fairness unless you took into account not only the price of the shares, but benefits to the stockholders, to the people around the company, but maybe not necessarily others.
How do you explain the disconnect between how Wall Street is seen by the average American after this crisis, and I think how Wall Street probably sees itself, which is contributing to the economy and to the public good?
Well, and you see probably both are to some extent true. I mean, the investment house that says, why am I being pilloried in the newspapers when I'm doing something that I think is good for the country, which is to keep this economy going. And that's also true until some huge banking house declares bankruptcy and almost brings the whole industry down.
The latest book from Felix Roden is called Dealings. It's a memoir. It's called Political and a Financial Book. Mr. Roden, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You can read some of the stories Felix Roden tells in Dealings on the Whiz Bang New Book section on our website. It's called The Great Book. You can put your comments, your other book reviews, shout you online. Once you place that book, send the book. Today, the talk is of kitchen countertops made from recycled soda panels and insulation made out of blue jeans. The Green Building Conference started this week. The newest construction techniques and design methods that are going to help save the planet. But there is a school of thought that for buildings, at least, new isn't as green as old is. From the Marketplace Sustainability Desk, Pete Schroeder reports.
The TV show World's Greenest Homes has the air of the life size of the rich and famous. This version has and that's how most people visualize a green building. Big, angular, new, and armed with the latest energy technology. But some argue that's the wrong idea. Real green building looks more like this.
I've got something to show you.
Historic preservationists say renovating an old building is almost always better for the environment than framing up a new one. You don't have to sprawl by taking up more land, and you don't waste all the energy and resources, like holding metal, already in existing buildings. But people don't often equate old buildings with going green. Take Glenda Wright's historic bungalow in Claremont, California. Come on in, and this is the Green and Green Darling home, is that right? Green and Green Darling Wright home. Been there since 1903. To be clear, this Green and Green has no relation to today's concept of going green. At the turn of the 20th century, brothers and architects Charles and Henry Green launched the arts and crafts movement. When the Wrights bought the house, they loved its built-in fixtures and old-growth wood beams, but not the way it leaked air. Were you afraid it might come to live in this drafty old house? They hired designer Bill Waldron to green the house without compromising the green and green aesthetic.
And balance and detail.
He combined that style with technology to make this the first historic home to earn a green rating from the state of California. There's no rain-collecting roof or solar panels. That wouldn't look authentic. And besides, Waldron aimed to prove that the roof didn't have to look futuristic. He hid high-tech insulation behind the vintage wainscoting.
We did an inch of close-up film just to simulate it. Then we put the film inside of us.
The warm glow from the stained glass lighting fixtures.
It's a very short, so how we actually simulate it underneath the shade of the original.
The house really took a chance with the perceptibility.
It's not right, it's that you can't tell it.
But everything is the that's the confidence to prove from Mr.
And Catholic John McGargan and Chris Fleming came up. Storm 3.
motion. That's right.
Does it feel like it happens that way for me, that Jesus just shows up and touches my hand and everything's better? And I wish it would be that way. Maybe in a spaceship, maybe something like that, and just touch my hand and everything would be better. But how does this really work? How does this really work?
Wow! Big hole there. And the pain was like, it was gone. It was a big hole. I was going to hurt at that.
Into our suffering, into the pain and the fear and the worry and the doubt that we all often have. Number one, sometimes this is how he does it. Sometimes he brings peace over suffering.
Charles Dickens' timeless characters with its...
Always a religious thing.
Oh. Let's see. My actual things for lottery are in here somewhere. Let's see. Wait. Yeah. Just stay out of here for right now. Two of you. Alright. He didn't get up and walk, he was get stand up, obviously. Stay.
What are you guys doing? Just.
I'm getting my lottery tickets.
Oh.
And I need to win. See, it's something I got to do. And I don't have both things, so I'll just use one of them.
Triple play, 350. Let me get for this trash away.
We have a little shoe thing you see.
Huh?
My feet are feeling a lot better anyway.
I bet they are.
flavor Doritos they quit making like back in 2005? Yeah, salsa Doritos.
Yeah.
I used to love them things, and they quit making them now. That's what sucks. You know, it's like, I don't make them.
Yeah.
I wonder if I went on their website and requested something. Maybe take more than just one person to bring back the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you feeling back there, Mr. Mike?
Right.
Drinking things?
Yeah.
I ain't offering one of these.
I know. It's food. Everything spicy gets right to the nerve, doesn't it?
Huh?
Everything spicy kind of goes right to the nerve.
Yeah.
It's anything like it's just extreme temperature stuff, right? That's the whole
Not
concept.
really a temperature. This is not reality, but your nerve will perceive it as painful.
Ah, okay. Okay. Is organic more like the stuff that I'd want to get? Like organic food? Is that what you mean? Or sugar free?
It's not necessarily organic because there ain't really much difference, but stuff that don't have added sugars.
Or preservatives, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And foods that occur naturally, not that have to be processed and made.
It's a big problem in this country. A lot of preservatives. Sugars, so much stuff too, You put sugar in almost everything. How far are we now from your place? Far did you say you're from?
Probably an hour and a half.
Oh, that's not bad. Doesn't seem like we've been on the road that long though. Like last time it seemed longer.
Yeah.
Huh?
Last time on the way down to the Key West, it seemed like a lot longer than it does this time.
That's cause of that Miami thing.
Like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll cut it shorter when we get to Turnpike too.
Oh, okay.
Which will cut it by good depth.
Okay.
See, we have.
BMW makes a bike.
Huh?
What BMW?
Yeah.
Yep. They make motorcycles too.
BMW motorcycle.
before you get hurt. Everybody's probably like, let's read down the room. There's a casting back at the house now. Hello, Corley. Hello, Corley.
Hello, Bill. Before I got this.
I'm sorry. Did you talking? Did you talk? Too long.
Hello, this is Frank at the Fulmville. I had a missed call. This is Frank at the Fulmville Transmissions. I had a missed call. What was your department? Primary use of the vehicle. Okay, I'm going with the heavy haulers. You'll be looking at 1750 shift with a heavy duty low stall converter. 1750. That will be with a heavy duty low stall converter and a cooler and shipped.
Really?
2 years.
What is that word? How do you say that? That
Unlimited.
something dwelling.
Oh, cooler dwelling?
A cooler dwelling?
Yeah.
What's that name again?
Gas hurts.
Well, we have a level 1, but I'm not from my computer to see it, but I don't use suggestions for trucks. But it's only like $100 or so, like $100 cheaper, not that much. Where's this? The Fulmville Transmissions. Let's see. 5 years is for Fulmville Transmissions. Prior to that, about 20 years under American Transmissions, which is the parent company. You just take it out. You have to pay shipping to get it back to us. We'll fix it and send it back to you.
Oh my God, were we at that?
Yeah, that's standard with everybody.
No.
No, not that.
No, it's female.
You looked really.
Okay, well, this one's quite a bit upgraded over the GM, but okay.
Can't figure out the map thing.
No, trying to get it to do something fucking thing. Trying to zoom back out.
I'll be ready for us to leave in just a second, guys.
Okay. Mr. Mayes.
smaller bag. They didn't have a smaller bag. Hide that in there somewhere too.
Okay.
We're the gas station up right here.
Mm-hmm.
All this is Waldorf Plaza. So that guy owned all this shit.
Oh, okay.
He had like 4 or 5 houses beyond here too. On the water. But
What happened to all that?
after he died, it got shit down the toilet by stupidity. Yeah, because he's... Yeah, Waldorf Plaza, Key Largo.
Hey, those are my shoes.
That's funny. Well, there, I feel a little better now.
Tavernier, this fucking piece of shit. Tavernier's 20 got 50, at least 5-10 miles out. Fucking what the hell?
What?
It says we're Tavern.
It says we're where?
Tavernier.
It says we're in Tavernier?
Wait. Oh, it's pointing in the wrong direction. This one's. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong direction. This one's.
He's cussing you all the time. You should apologize to him. Come on. Probably should have, shouldn't I?
Guantanamo detainee to face a civilian trial has been acquitted in New York City of all but one charge. NPR's Dina Temple-Raston reports he'd been accused of helping in the 1998 embassy bombings in Africa.
It took a Manhattan jury just 7 days to find Ahmed Gailani guilty of just one count of conspiracy and acquit him of murder and terrorism charges. Prosecutors say Gailani bought a truck and explosives for the bombing before he left Africa and hid in Pakistan. The defense said Gailani was a dupe, and he had no idea he was helping with an al-Qaeda terrorism plot. The attacks in Tanzania and Kenya killed 224 people, including a dozen Americans. Gailani's trial was meant to show that civilian courts in the U.S. would be able to handle complicated terrorism trials. He was the first Guantanamo Bay detainee to be transferred to the U.S. for a trial. His acquittal on all but one count is a setback for the Obama administration's efforts to close Guantanamo Bay prison. Dina Temple-Raston, NPR News.
Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski has won re-election. As NPR's Mark Kosky reports, Murkowski overcame the logistical challenges of running as a write-in candidate.
When Murkowski lost the Republican primary and decided to run as a write-in candidate, the experts doubted she'd pull it off. But Murkowski had some advantages. As the daughter of a former senator and governor, her name was already familiar, and in Alaska's tiny media market, she was able to pay for non-stop ads teaching voters how to spell her name. She also got votes from Alaska Democrats who backed her as a way to block the official Republican nominee Joe Miller, a Tea Party favorite who had the endorsement of Sarah Palin. Martin Kosky, NPR News.
Sometimes called blackout in a can, the Food and Drug Administration is taking aim at some high-alcohol, caffeine-laden drinks which have been peddled to young people. The FDA today, in a letter to manufacturers, saying that adding caffeine to some of those beverages constitutes an unsafe food additive. As a result, the government could seize the products if companies continue to make them. Commissioner Margaret Hamburg.
After detailed study and analysis, FDA has found reason for concern that a number of caffeinated alcoholic beverage products do not meet the legal standard for safety. As a result, the agency is moving forward on behalf of public health.
One company that makes a popular drink known as Four Loko has already said it will remove caffeine from its alcoholic drinks. According to General Motors, the automaker has priced its stock at the top of the expected range. The initial public offering tomorrow, with shares priced at $33 apiece, is expected to raise in the range of $23 billion. The automaker, which a year and a half ago passed through a brief government-sponsored bankruptcy, the IPO is the largest in GM's history. After recent market volatility sparked by investor concerns about the burgeoning debt crisis in Europe, stocks ended little change today. The Dow was down 15 points, the Nasdaq up 6 points. This is NPR. The man dubbed the Merchant of Death, accused Russian arms trafficker Viktor Bout was in a New York City courtroom today. Bout charged with supporting terrorists trying to overthrow the government of Colombia. The 43-year-old Bout was ordered held without bail after his appearance today in Manhattan federal court. Extradited from Thailand, Bout is accused of fueling a number of deadly third-world conflicts over the last decade. He was arrested in Thailand as part of a sting operation conducted by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Florida health officials are reporting the state's first case of cholera related to the outbreak in Haiti. From Miami, NPR's Greg Allen has more.
Florida's Department of Health says the cholera case involves a woman who recently returned from visiting family in Haiti's Artibonite Valley. She has since recovered. Health officials haven't identified her further, except to say she lives in southwest Florida and does not work in a job that puts her in close contact with the public. Florida has a large Haitian American population, and travel to and from the island is common. In Haiti, cholera has killed more than 1,000 and hospitalized some 16,000 people. Florida health officials say they're investigating other suspected cholera cases, but that the disease does not pose a significant health threat in this country. Nearly 20 years ago, when an epidemic hit Peru, about 20 cases of imported cholera were reported in Florida. Greg Allen, NPR News, Miami.
Does the popular online social networking site Facebook encourage cheating? At least one New Jersey pastor apparently thinks so, telling merit officials with his Living World Christian Fellowship Church to delete their Facebook accounts or resign their leadership jobs. Reverend Cedric Miller, in issuing the edict, cited the fact 20 couples who were members of the church ran into marital trouble after reconnecting with ex-flames over the social networking site. Miller says the temptation to stray for some is simply too great. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from Boxer Tribe Pictures, presenting 127 Hours, based on the true story of Aaron Ralston, and from director Danny Boyle, now in select theaters.
The Miramar Cultural Center is a place for theater, high notes, pirouettes, and laughter. It can awaken your child's artistic sensibilities and make every business meeting a success. It's the place to celebrate special occasions and happily ever afters. Details at MiramarCulturalCenter.org or 954-602-4500. The Miramar Cultural Center, where community and culture converge.
WBUR Boston, I'm Tom Ashbrook, and this is On Point. America is speeding into a future with a lot more older drivers. You may have noticed it already. How to keep them mobile, their lives fulfilling, and the roads safe is a hot issue. Seniors have their needs and rights, and so does the whole society. It can be a tough issue in state houses and at the family's kitchen table. This hour On Point, driving and older Americans. You can join the conversation. What's your experience? What do you see out there? What's fair? What's thoughtful? What's safe? And what's your family's story? We're at 1-800-423-8255. That's 800-423-TALK. You can comment at our website, onpointradio.org, or on Twitter and Facebook at On Point Radio. And let us know your city and state when you comment online. We love seeing it. Joining me first today from Washington is Deborah Hersman, chair of the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board. Last week, the NTSB convened its first ever public forum on the issue of aging drivers. Deborah Hersman, thank you very much for being with us.
Hi, Tom. It's good to be with you today.
Why this issue? Why now, Chair Hersman?
Well, I think the really important thing for all of us to recognize is that we're all getting older, but the statistics are showing us that for us in the United States, that by 2025, in just 15 years from now, 1 in every 5 drivers on our roadway is going to be over the age of 65. We are not really good at assessing people's driving abilities, and we really need to have better coordination between the medical community, the licensing community, and also individual drivers. I think the most important takeaway is there is no magic age at which individuals should stop driving. It is very individualistic, and it needs to be assessed in consultation with an individual driver and their doctor and their family, and also the licensing agencies.
I've been reading a lot on this, and I'm not sure of the answer to this question. Is it a problem overall for a country to have a lot more older drivers on the roads? Is that a problem?
Well, I think that there's probably a lot of people that have preconceived notions about older drivers and their abilities, but I think the things that we learned in our forum last week was that older drivers are our most experienced drivers, and they're very safe drivers. They tend to buckle up. They don't drive after they've been drinking. They don't speed. They also are very good at self-selecting areas where they might be uncomfortable driving. And we see that older drivers are safe, but they also tend to be more frail or more fragile. And if they're involved in an accident, they are much more likely to be seriously injured or die. So an accident that you or I might walk away from with some injuries, an older driver might be hospitalized with serious injuries and may ultimately die from those injuries. And so we need to make crashes more survivable for older drivers.
And what about the public menace headlines that we see and have seen for years? The older driver plowing into the schoolyard, or through the windows at Walmart, or and people say, "Oh, good Lord, who's keeping tabs of this?" Is that just the rare and scary incident, or is there a public safety problem?
Well, I think that older driver events do tend to probably capture more public attention, and we do see accidents that involve things like pedal misapplication that involve younger drivers too, but we see often some catastrophic events that involve older drivers. One of the things that we do know is that as we age, there are some age-related conditions, medical conditions, and also other things that slow down as we age, whether it's our response time or other things. And so for older drivers, we want to make sure that they have plenty of information, good feedback. They have plenty of advance notice of things, good signage. But, all of those things really help all drivers. But there is an area where I do think that we need to be focused and paying a little bit more attention, and that has to do with older drivers that have dementia, because our panelists really talked about this as being a primary concern, because these drivers have some severe